Okay, so for our today's discussion, we have the ellipse. So what are the lesson objectives that we have? Let's see. First is to define, of course, an ellipse, identify its parts, determine its standard equation, and of course, to graph an ellipse. So first we define what an ellipse is. Let's use our laser pointer. An ellipse is the locus of all points in a plane such that the sum of the distances from two given points, the foci, is constant. So what do we mean by that? If we have, for example, this focus 1 and this as our focus 2, take note they are inside. These points, these two foci are inside the ellipse. Yan, so these are the reference points that we have. Okay. So kung sa parabola, we just have one focus. Dito, we have two foci. Okay, so we take a random point in an ellipse, say this point here. So if we get the distance of this random point from focus 1 and focus 2, that sum will always be constant no matter where we are on this blue ellipse that we have here. So that means if I take a random point right here, get the distance of this point from this focus 2 plus the distance of this point from focus 1, that will be the same as the one that I got from the sum of this violet or purple distances. Okay, so say this is 5, this is 8, that will be 13. So that 13 is fixed. So if I get, for example, here as a distance of 2, that means the distance of this should be 11. That 13, meaning that sum of the distances from these two fixed points is constant no matter where we are on this ellipse. So mathematically speaking, that means if we denote this point as P and this focus 1 as F1 and focus 2 as F2, that means PF1 plus PF2 equals constant, meaning this distance of the point from focus 1, the distance of the point from focus 2 is the sum of those is a constant. Okay? Medyo makulit pero that is a very important thing to emphasize here. Okay? By the way, we call this longer line segment, the major axis of the ellipse. And this one, a minor axis. What actually makes the ellipse different from a circle is that it has this longer segment and parang siyang stretch na circle, di ba? Tapos it has a minor axis. Once the major axis and the minor axis become equal, that becomes a circle already. Kaya lumalabas a circle is a special ellipse kasi the major and minor axis are equal for the case of a circle. Ito parang stretch circle siya eh. So may longer part tas may lumalabas na shorter part. Okay? So that's the major and minor axis respectively. From there, we have two types of ellipse, the horizontal and the vertical ellipse. Pag horizontal yung ellipse, ayan, we have this equation and this is for the vertical ellipse. Take note, it's a matter of placing or positioning the A. So the A here or the A squared denotes the greater denominator between the two. Once the two denominators become equal, hindi na siya ellipse, circle na siya. Or pwede natin sabihin, special ellipse siya na circle. Okay? So, itong A squared na to is the bigger denominator. So, we locate where the bigger denominator is. So, if it's under the X, ibig sabihin, just like the X-axis, we have a horizontal ellipse. Ito naman, if this is the bigger denominator is located under Y, Y-axis is a vertical line, no? So that means you have a vertical ellipse. Okay, so I hope that's being clear. That's a very crucial note. Again, let us note here that A squared refers to the bigger denominator. Okay, so illustratively speaking, ito yung ating center. Again, it's HK coming from this numbers here. Tapos kapag vertical ellipse naman, still it's HK. Okay, H and K. So ito yung itsura niya. Okay. So ano yung mga parts ng horizontal ellipse? So ito yung equation natin given this standard equation. So we have the center. We have introduced that on the previous slide. Center is HK. And from there, we identified the major axis. So the role of the A is very important. So we get the square root of this and then multiply it by 2 to get the length of the major axis. Okay, so where is that? It's here. So ibig sabihin, ito yung the distance from the center to this point is A. The distance from the center is to this point is another A. That's why you have an A plus A, which is 2A. Now, what is this point? That is actually called our vertex. So we have a vertex 1 and another vertex 2. So we have 2 vertices. Okay, so ayun yung magiging basis natin. So since yung vertex 1 is A units away from the center and we're moving along the X values, magsasubtract tayo ng A from this reference point. No? Laging yung reference point natin is the center in this case. So H minus A. It will be this point, H minus AK. Okay. Whereas for this one, again, we're moving along the X value. So our vertex 2 will be H plus A and then K. Take note just like in the Hoy books that we know, di ba? Pag horizontal line, zero slope, Y is constant. That's why take note that the Y here, which is equal to K, is being held constant. Okay. What about the minor axis? So yung minor axis natin, ang basis naman natin doon is the B part here. Okay? So again, we extract the root of this, the square root, and then we multiply by 2 to get the length of the minor axis. Okay? So we get this random point here. Yan. So this random point is B units away from the center. Tas ito naman, B units then away from the center. So ito yun, tsaka ito. Those are the endpoints of our minor axis. Ayan. So we normally call this the co-vertices. These are the vertices. These are the co-vertices of the ellipse. So ang notation natin sa kanya, we can denote that as capital B as in boy. B sa buwan, parang galing siya sa small b, no? So umakyat tayo, we're moving along the y values. Kaya dito tayo gagalaw kay k. So it will be k plus b and we keep the h constant. So vertical line, x is constant, di ba? So pagbaba naman natin, the other co-vertex will have coordinates h, k, minus b. Laging reference point natin, we always start with the center. K minus b. Okay? So what about, so by the way, so please take note of those important points. Yan. So ano yung 5 points on the major axis? Center, vertices with each vertex a units away from the center. So we have those 2 vertices. And then the foci with each focus C units away from the center. So ito yung focus natin. This one is the other focus. Okay. So ang ating formula for the C, yan. So I highlighted the C on the word foci. Foci is the plural for focus. Ayan, so yung C is equal to the square root of A squared minus B squared. Yan, parang kung sa Pythagorean, parang si A yung hypotenuse kasi nga the bigger denominator is A squared. Okay? So, nasan yung F natin? So, it's C units away from the center. So, C is shorter than A. Ayan. Okay. So, lalabas kung ito yung C, ito yung B, small b, this is the A. Parang siya yung hypotenuse natin. Okay? Take note, this A here is equivalent to the A here. Okay? Pwede nating i-prove yun. This is a horizontal line segment, tapos ito naman ay hypotenuse, pero it's a diagonal line segment connecting the co-vertex and the focus. Okay? Yun yung A natin dito sa triangle na to. Kaya ano siya, Pythagorean. Okay? Pero anyway, ito yung formula. We just have to subtract these denominators. Take note, no? Parang yung panggagalingan ng C is the difference of the two denominators, then get the square root to get the C. Okay? So, ayan po. Para pala tandaan natin, Voltes 5, come fight villains. Okay. Tananananan, tan-tan. Parang ganun lang siya. Let's take a look at this example. We have this equation. Let's determine the center, vertices, co-vertices, foci, and length of major and minor axis of this ellipse. Okay, so ang center natin, very obvious, no? It's 2, -3. So parang nasanay na tayo dun sa paghanap ng center ng circle natin. So 2 and -3. Okay, parang kinu-consider natin yung opposite in sign kasi it's coming from the x minus and y minus. Okay, so after that, we identify what our a is. This is our bigger denominator, which means this is our a squared. So our a is equal to 5. And then our b is coming from the square root of this. So that will be 3. Okay, so ito yung paggagalingan ng vertices natin. So meanwhile, kunin muna natin yung c by getting the difference of this. That will be 16. So square root of 16 will be just 4. Okay, ito naman yung paggagalingan ng foci natin. Okay, ito yung sa vertex or vertices. Ito yung para sa covertices. Ito yung para sa foci. Take note of that. So, ito yung ating orientation na horizontal ellipse. Why horizontal? Kasi the bigger denominator is under the x. Isipin natin ang x-axis horizontal. Kaya horizontal yung ellipse natin. So, ibig sabihin kung horizontal yung ellipse, pag ganun yung ating orientation, yung ating vertices tsaka foci should have the same y coordinate. Okay, so itong -3, constant natin to, no? Gagalaw tayo along the x values. Okay? So, para makuha natin yung vertices, we have the 2 minus 5 dun sa kaliwa and then the 2 plus 5 dun sa kanan. Okay? So, 2 minus 5 is -3, -3. Tapos dito naman, 2 plus 5 is 7, -3. Okay? What about for the covertices? So, sa covertices muna tayo, no? Making use of the 3, gagalaw tayo along the y values. So, that means we keep the 2 constants. Si 2 naman yung i-constant natin for the covertices. Tapos, galaw tayo along the y values. So, -3, pagpababa, -3. Pagkapataas, -3 plus 3, which is given by these two coordinates here. Okay? So we have here 2, -6, and then here we have 2, 0. Again, we always start with the center kasi baka mamali tayo, no? Ano tayo, ma-confuse tayo, no? Kasi subtraction is not commutative. Okay? And now for the foci, sabi natin they are on the same horizontal line as the vertices and the center. So, si -3, yung i-fix natin, we should be adding and subtracting 4 from 2. Okay, gagalaw tayo along the axis. Dito tayo sa blue line segment here. Ito yung major axis. Okay, 2 minus 4 kung pakaliwa. Okay, tapos dito naman sa kabila, 2 plus 4. So 2 minus 4, -2, -3. 2 plus 4, 6, -3. So those are your foci. Now we go to the length of the major and minor axis. All we have to do is just multiply this by 2. Diba? Twice of that. Ito yung 5. This is another 5. So that means the length of the major axis is 10. 5 plus 5. And the length of the minor axis, this is 3. This is another 3, or just multiply this by 2. That will be 6. Okay? We can check our answer actually using the Desmos. Ito yung ating, i-try nating i-plot ito or i-sketch using Desmos, and we will be able to see this graph. Okay? And we can clearly see that the vertices are -3, -3, and 7, -3. And the covertices will be -2, -3, -2, +2 rather, +2, 0, and +2, -6. Okay. So that's it. You can always pause the video if you want more time absorbing our lesson. So what about a vertical ellipse? So ito yung ating equation, ano? So again, we have the major axis, same pa rin, no? Yung pa rin, no? The length will be equal to 2a. Tapos ito yung reference natin. Again, the a squared refers to the bigger denominator. Okay? So that means ang paggalaw natin along the y values. We fix our h, tas akyat tayo ng a units pataas. So that means that's our first vertex, h, k plus a. Pagpababa, that will be this vertex will be HK minus A. Moving tayo ng A units paakyat, A units pababa. From the center, ha? Okay. Now, what about the minor axis? So, minor axis natin is pakaliwa, pakanan. So, we're moving along this is a horizontal line, just like the x-axis, or we're moving along the x values. So, H minus B and then H plus B. Okay. So, for our co-vertices, we have this and this one. Okay. So, those are the coordinates. Okay, so same naman din. So 5 points on the major axis. We have the center, vertices, foci, given by this same formula. Just have to subtract this denominators. Okay, so ayun, meron tayong vertices, meron tayong focus, C units away. Again, they are collinear. The voltage 5 cum 5 valence are collinear along the major axis. Okay. Kaya these are the 5 points on the major axis. Now let's sketch the graph of this vertical ellipse. Okay. Oh, is this a vertical? Hindi pala siya vertical. Sorry for that. No? Horizontal na naman pala yung ellipse natin. Okay, so bakit horizontal? Kasi the bigger denominator is located under the x. No? Kaya horizontal na naman siya. Anyway, so lalabas, meron tayong horizontal ellipse with center at 1, negative 2. 1, negative 2. Okay? Tapos, ang kailangan natin is to identify the ABC. Yan, parang ABC lang naman, no? Ito yung center natin, si 1, negative 2. By the way, ang task pala natin is to sketch the graph. Okay? So, 1, negative 2 is right there. Tapos, ano ba yung kailangan nga natin? Si ABC. So, kailangan nating identify yung ating A. So, ang ating A is 4. Square root of 16 is 4. So, yun yung A natin. So, galaw tayo, horizontal ellipse. Kaya, horizontal yung major axis natin. Okay? Horizontal yung major axis. So, gagalaw tayo along x values. Just like, di ba, pag sa x-axis, gumagalaw yung x values mo. Okay? So, 4. 4. So, that means sa x value natin, if i-fix natin si negative 2, we have 1 minus 4 sa kaliwa and 1 plus 4 sa kanan. Okay? So, ayun yung 1 minus 4, negative 3, negative 2. Ito yung 1 plus 4, that will be 5, negative 2. Those are your two vertices. Now, from the center, we locate the points that are 3 units up and down. Bakit 3? Kasi square root of 9. B is equal to 3. Okay? So, akyat tayo. Galaw tayo along the y. So, negative 2 plus 3, tsaka negative 2 minus 3. That's why we have this point. That will be 1, negative 5. And then this one, 1, 1, negative, this is negative 2 plus 3, no? So, 1, 1. So, ito yung 1, negative 5. Okay? So, draw the ellipse passing through those 4 points. Ang task naman natin is to sketch. Ayan lang po siya. Ayan. Medyo mukhang circle kasi the major and minor axis, maliit lang yung discrepancy. Isang 4, isang 3 units in length. Okay? So, there you go for the sketch of this ellipse. What about this one? Take note that our equation is given in parang semi-general form, no? Kasi this is not equal to 0, no? Okay, so hindi pa siya naka-standard form. So we write it in standard form to determine the center as well as the vertices, etc. Okay? Take note that for the standard form, the other side is equal to 1. So our task is to make this constant equal to 1. That is by dividing both sides by 36. So we do that here. We divide first by 36. Ayan, and we get this result. Okay? So 4 over 36 will be 9. Tas 9 over 36 is 4. Okay? So 36 over 36 is 1. Okay? Now we have this standard form of the equation of an ellipse. We can readily identify the A here. Bigger denominator is this one. A is equal to 3. Okay? Tapos, ang ating B will be equal to 2. Okay? So, ang C natin, subtract mo lang yung mismong denominator, not the square roots. 9 minus 4 is 5. That will be your radicand. So, ang C natin is square root of 5. Okay? So, ang ating magiging center is negative 5. Coming from here, negative 5, 0. Okay? Tapos, ang ating vertices, let's see kung vertical yung ating, vertical yung ating ellipse kasi the bigger denominator is under the y. Okay? So, that means vertical ang ating major axis. So, that means for the vertices and foci, we're moving along the y values if we fix natin yung x. Okay? So, lalabas for the vertices, akyat baba tayo, no? So, add tayo and subtract ng 3. So, 0 minus 3 and 0 plus 3 will be the y coordinates of our vertices. Okay? And then for the co-vertices, doon naman tayo sa pa-horizontal. So, kaliwa kanan. No? So, that means kung horizontal yan, moving tayo along the x values. So, ito naman yung gagalawin natin. We keep the 0 constant. So, ayun, if we fix yung 0, galaw tayo ng minus 2. Dito nang galing yun. Tapos plus 2 sa kabilang side, sa right side. Okay? So, simplifying these coordinates, that will be negative 7, 0 and negative 3, 0. Okay? So, again, for the foci, balikan natin yung if we fix yung negative 5. O, yan. Kasi nasa same vertical line sila. Okay? Wherein the x is held constant. Gumagalaw tayo sa y value. No? So, from the center 0, plus and minus tayo ng square root of 5. So, ayun po ang ating coordinates for the foci. Okay, so length of the major axis, multiply this A by 2. 2 times 3 is 6. And then 2 times 2 is 4. Coming from this one, multiplied by 2. Okay. So if we are interested with the sketch of this graph, this is how it looks like. And you can check the answers using Desmos. Okay. Now let's proceed with this next example. Let's determine the equation of the ellipse with foci. This time we're given with the foci to negative 3 and 10, 3. And length of the major axis is 20. Okay. So, ibig sabihin po nito, yung negative 2, 3, tsaka 10, 3 yung given. How do we find the center? Ano yung kinalaman ng center dun sa dalawang foci na to? It's actually the midpoint of this. Okay? So, using the midpoint formula, parang averaging lang, although we don't have a problem already with the y coordinate, no? Since alam natin, the 3 here will be fixed. So, predictable na yung y coordinate ng center natin, 3. So, average na lang natin si 10 and negative 2. That will be 8 divided by 2. So, that means we have 4, 3 for our center. Yan, more or less alam na natin yung magiging equation ng yung upper part ng equation natin sa ellipse. And of course, the right side is equal to 1. Okay? Now, for the other thing, ang kailangan natin is the denominator or the denominators. Okay? Ano yung rule nung 20 na to? This refers to the length of the major axis. Okay? This is 2A. So, if this is 2A, that means, di ba? By the way, since the center and the foci have the same y coordinate, same y coordinate po ito. Ibig sabihin, we have a horizontal major axis. Okay? Kasi same y, we're moving along the x values lang. No? So, ibig sabihin, y is held constant. Y is held constant. We have a horizontal. Remember the Hoy-Vooks, no? Horizontal line, zero slope, y is constant. Vertical line, undefined slope, x is constant. So, ito, y constant, horizontal ellipse, horizontal major axis. Okay, so kung horizontal yung major axis, ibig sabihin the bigger denominator is under the x minus 4 squared. Okay, so horizontal ellipse, x minus 4 squared, siya yung may bigger denominator compared to the y minus 3 squared. alam natin 20 yung major axis. So divide this by 2, that will be 10. 10 is the A. Okay? So if 10 is the A, what about our A squared? It will be equal to 100. Ayan. So ang alam natin, di ba yung ating foci, ito yun. Tapos alam natin na yung distance niya from the center is C. So what is that? No? So focus is 6 units away from the center. So ibig sabihin, the C is equal to 6. Okay? So if that is equal to 6, how do we get now our B? If you make use of this formula, ito yung formula natin. Okay. Tinanggal ko lang yung radical sign kasi kanina do sa mga previous slides, C is equal to the square root. I'm making use of the squared versions. Okay. So ang B squared natin, mag-swap tong si B squared and si C squared. B squared is equal to A squared minus C squared, which is 100 minus 36, which is 64. Itong si 64, yun yung kailangan natin kasi that will be the other denominator. Ayan, so that's it. That will be the equation of the ellipse we are looking for. Okay, so ayun po. I'm sure you're ready for the time for questions. I hope you are. Let's go. Again, you can always pause our video if you want longer time answering. I strongly suggest you practice answering. Anyway, konti lang tong questions natin. Okay? But for more practice, we have many practice exercises provided on the Edpuzzle and Kahoot that I uploaded also. So let's find the center of the ellipse with equation x minus 4 squared over 25 plus y plus 7 squared over 16 equals 1. Okay, that should be very easy. Yan, dapat nadalian lang kayo. That's a warm-up question actually. We're just looking for the center, so we just have to pick these numbers and change their sign. So our center is just 4, -7. Okay, no solution needed. Okay. So hope you got that correctly. Let's go to question number 2. Find the covertices of the ellipse with this equation 2x squared plus y squared equals 72. Okay, so fast forward ko na yung time natin and the answer here will be -60 and 60. Why is that? For our solution, we divide both sides by 72. We want the right side to be equal to 1. So we have 2 over 72 here, which makes it x squared over 36 na lang, plus y squared over 72. So that means the bigger denominator is under y. So we have a vertical ellipse. Okay. Tapos, ito yung panggagalingan. We're interested with the covertices. So, ito yung panggagalingan ng covertex natin, covertices. So, pa-horizontal tayo. Okay. So, ang center natin ay 0, 0. Tapos, ang B natin is equal to 6. Okay. 0, 0, no? Tapos, B is equal to 6. Yun yung panggagalingan ng ating covertices. So, kung vertical yung ating major axis, horizontal yung ating minor. Okay? Minor axis yung covertices, di ba? So, pa-horizontal, we're moving along the axis. So, dito tayo lang gagalaw. We fix the y0. So, 0 minus 6, tsaka 0 plus 6, we have this and this one. So, these are the answers that we will be getting. Okay? Yun. So what about this one? Find the length of the minor axis of the ellipse with equation x squared plus 4y squared minus 9 equals 0. Okay, let me fast forward our time. And the answer here is just 3 units. Why is that? How did that happen? So for our solution, we move the constant term to the other side first, and then we divide both sides by this number kasi we want this to be equal to 1. Okay? So dividing both sides by 9, we get this. X squared over 9 plus 4y squared over 9 equals 1. Now, we don't want a coefficient here other than 1. Di ba? Kaya parang lalabas x minus h lang to. Tapos x minus h squared, y minus k squared. No? Understood coefficient must be 1. So we should be multiplying this fraction by what? By 1/4 over 1/4 to get rid of this. So multiplying this fraction by 1/4 over 1/4, yan. Or simply dividing both numerator and denominator by 4, yan, that will become this. X squared over 9 plus y squared over 9/4 equals 1. Okay? So medyo may trick ng konti doon, ano? So the bigger denominator is this under the x. Yan. So ito yung sa major axis. Ang kailangan natin is the minor axis. So that means we should be considering this as our b squared. Ito yung b squared natin. So we get the square root of that to get our b. So our b is equal to 3 halves. Multiply that by 2 kasi we're interested with the length of the minor axis. Multiplying this by 2, we get 3 units. Ayun. So that's how we got our answer there. Okay, so I hope you got 3 out of 3 in this set of exercises. Ayun, so to end our presentation, mankind is not a circle with a single center, but an ellipse with 2 focal points, of which facts are one and ideas the other. Have a good